congratulations on going into your second camp. Tell me a little bit first off about how you feel in terms of, you got the first one under your belt and now you got more
Yeah,
experience going into this one. What are you feeling right now?
man, I feel great. It's a little different having like a real off season in the NFL. In college, there's a lot of your winter workouts, your spring ball, your summer training when it's really like a group effort and you're kind of doing a lot of different stuff that like you're essentially forced to do. Not that it's bad, but this year I've kind of figured out you can take time for yourself, figure out the things that you need to work on. If you have a prior injury you need to work on, or certain or specific things that you just want to work on yourself and kind of just, hone in on that. So it's been really good. Like it's been good to one, relax, clear the mind and just kind of like do me for a little bit. And then again, I've also been hitting hard in training. So man, feel great, feel probably the best shape I've ever been in. My strength is there and I'm just ready to get going.
So where are you right now in terms, because I know you guys report tomorrow. That's that correct?
Yep.
So where are you right now?
At my townhouse, I have a place out here that I've been living throughout the off season. I've taken some trips back home and gone some places, but I've mostly just been out here and been able to train at our facilities out here in Seattle.
How you liking the area? That's obviously a lot different, I'm sure, than Southwest Florida, but how have you taken to that?
Yeah, it's been nice, man. I never expected to be out in Seattle, man, but it's been really cool just to like taking, drives down to Oregon, or I drove out to Montana just recently, places like that. I never thought I'd be at, but it's nice out here. The people are nice. The weather's nice. We had a kind of a bad spring and early part of the summer. It was just rainy and cloudy, kind of just that typical, like what you think would be in Seattle. But the summertime here is incredible. The humidity is really, really low. It's always sunny out in the summer, and like, man, it's like as of right now, the weather's great. So, man, I couldn't complain. It's been really nice. I have my fiance living out here with me too, so that helps me out a lot, and she takes care of everything, at home, and kind of lets me, just go play football, play a kid's game.
And obviously, it's different for you going into your second year, but it's obviously a lot different for the Seahawks this year as well. You guys are obviously making a transition at the QB spot, and then you also have one of your biggest defensive leaders, Bobby Wagner, no longer on the team, still in division though. Tell me a little bit about how the defense is kind of transitioning with Bobby kind of, there's obviously still leaders on your team, but Bobby played a big role. What has it been like for you guys in that kind of transition right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I was in the building when we got the news that Russ got traded, and obviously that was crazy. But the thing was, those trade talks have kind of been out there for a few years. Every offseason there was whether Russ was going to get traded, what was going to happen. So it was a shock, but the following day when Bobby got released, man, it hit me hard because, you were absolutely right. The leader of our defense, he set the standard. From just the way he works, like no one was getting there earlier than him and working harder than him, and really just in tune to just what was going on in the whole organization. And he really like took young guys under his wing, and he helped me out a lot tremendously. He just, showed me the ropes, helped me understand the defense, that kind of stuff. But it was a big, big shock. And it's going to be weird next year or this year, kind of like not hearing those pregame speeches, because he always had ones lined up and it was always on point. But we got some guys, like you said, they're stepping up, like Jordan Brooks, now our new middle linebacker. He's really taking the reign of trying to just bring the defense together and understand that every single day, man, we got to attack it. And, we're not a lot of people are slating us to have a great year, but it's just noise, none of that matters. And I think we had a great spring throughout OTAs and mandatory minicamp, and a lot of, younger guys are just stepping up and taking on that role. So really excited to see how this new defense kind of meshes together.
And what's it going to be like? Obviously, NFL is a business. A lot of things happen, people move, things change, but what's it going to be like lining up against him, playing against him in division twice a year? And obviously the history he has with the team, but also going to face him a lot as well.
It's going to be wild, man. The Los Angeles Rams is a big rival for us out here in Seattle, and to let alone see him once, but seeing him twice, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to come ready to play, but, ultimately, I think there's going to be a lot of respect shown to him, both him and Russ, when they come back into Seattle, just because of like the legacy they had, the foundation they set here, and Super Bowl that they won together. So a lot of respect towards them, and I think it's going to be a highly anticipated matchup each time we go to play Bobby. But I know he'll be ready to go, so I know we're going to have to be ready to go as well.
And then leaning towards more where you're at right now in terms of where you seeing yourself slot in right now? The defensive tackle position for you guys is pretty loaded. I mean, referring back to the Russell Wilson trade, you guys got Shelby Harris back, a veteran of this game, and then you got Quentin Jefferson as well coming back to Seattle. Then you got a couple other guys sprinkled in there as well. Where are you kind of seeing yourself slotting in right now? What are you working on to kind of stand out in that aspect, and just where are you at right now with that?
Yeah, I think we have a good blend of a few young guys and those older guys you just mentioned that have a lot of experience, and even guys at nose tackle like Al Woods that was here last year. They showed me, just how to work, what it takes to, be in this league for a long time. Quentin Jefferson and Shelby, those guys are 8, 9 year, 10-year guys. So, when they were back in for mini camp, I was just trying to pick their brains as much as I could, understand what they look at when they're watching film, understand that what are they doing pre-practice, like what are they doing, in pass rush that sets them aside, because obviously they've been doing something right for a long time to be able to stay in the league that long, especially at defensive line. It's a production-based, position. And for myself, man, it's a brand new defense. We have Coach Hurt that got promoted to defensive coordinator. And it's exciting, man, because it's all bets are off. Obviously, those old guys kind of have their spot and they're kind of set, but I think it's an even playing field, man. It's a new defense that we all have to learn, and we show up to camp and see the best people are going to play. The preseason, there's a lot of opportunities for guys like me to go showcase what we can do, and I got those games sketched. We go to Pitt. It's our first preseason game. I'm really excited for it, and training camp starts freaking tomorrow. So, man, I just can't wait, and I'm excited to go show them what I can do.
And what is that like? Obviously, you've been around the block in your first year, kind of battling for playing time, battling for a roster spot. What is that like, building those relationships with your teammates, but also knowing, hey, I'm trying to battle this guy for playing time, for some reps? What is that? What's that dynamic like? Obviously, you would know more about that, but what is that? What's that like?
Going into the league last year, knowing guys, from back home and guys, were at Virginia Tech, they'll tell you, hey, look, like you'll kind of see that there's some vets that will be glad to help the younger guys out, some that won't. But in my experience in Seattle, man, everybody's been really genuine. There hasn't been any animosity towards guys that are battling for the same spots. For example, a guy like Miles Adams and me, we're kind of battling for the same spot, and he's another young guy, and he's like a really good friend of mine. We've managed to have a great relationship throughout all of it. And we push each other. Like, we showed up this spring, and like the first workout, we're throwing on weight. Like, we're sprinting as hard as we can in the drills, and like we're rolling. So it's not too much, hey, like I'm not trying to give up this information. If I see something, I'm going to hold this information from him. It's all been, really good. I think Coach Hurt and Coach Damon Lewis does a really good job of, having us more of like a family bond in our meetings, and just kind of being loose about it and not being so uptight and being like, hey, you don't want to be talking to this guy because you're trying to take his spot, and vice versa, man. It's been really good so far for me. And I think Seattle's a unique place. I don't know if it's like that completely everywhere else, but it's really like a family bond, especially like on the defense and the defensive line room specifically.
Now, has it been an easy transition for you, like in terms of you got a new defensive coordinator? Obviously, it's going to be an even playing field for a lot of different guys. Is that going to make it easier for you to kind of make an impact and get roster spot or playing time? Is that going to make it like what's kind of the playing ground right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's a new defense. It's not what we did in the past. In the past, I think we could have been predictable in some aspects of what we were doing and which guys were dropping and all that. And Coach Hurt has said, like, man, we are letting it loose. Like, we're not trying to show anything. We're trying to play multiple fronts, play multiple defense, bring guys off the edge. We're supposed to, get to the quarterback, play pass on the way to the quarterback. So, I think it's a huge advantage for me, because last year, there's certain guys that may have been in that defense for 5 years, and they know exactly the terminology. They know, in this look and this defense, I think I can take this shot against, what formation the offense is going against. But with the whole new defense, it's fresh. Even some of the coaches are still trying to learn like exactly what the terminology is, how we're trying to approach it. And I think for me, man, it's just, waiting for me to capitalize and go play fast. That's what Coach Hurt talks about. Play fast. Don't play, side to side and try to think what the offense is doing. Just go, man. Go get the ball.
And what's it like playing under Coach Carroll? Obviously, he's been around the block as well in the game of football. What is it like being a part of his training camps with him and just being part of just an everyday season day to day? Coach
Carroll, man, he's the man. He's got a lot of energy. He's fiery. You should see some of the team meetings that he puts on, man. It's a lot of fun playing for him. I think he's a player's coach. He takes care of us. He understands that the work that needs to be done in the week. I think we probably practice faster than most people. Like, we don't try to stay on the field for, 3 hours at a time. And he always preaches that we want to get done fast. We go, drill to drill, period to period. We're rolling from that. You got to be running, hitting the ground running. I mean, he's awesome though. You'd be surprised, man. Like on Fast Fridays during the season, like while we're all stretching, he's running 100-yard striders, and he's running like 10 of them, believe it or not. And he's still killing it, man. He's shooting the basketball all the time because we have hoops all over the facilities, and like he's just a lot of fun to play for. He makes things fun. He makes things really high energy. Like there's never a time where like things are kind of dull. Even last season was obviously not up to like what the Seahawks have been like their standard over the last 10 years, but you know, he still makes it more energetic. He doesn't want guys moping around. He wants to have fun. He wants to get everything out of it. So he's the man. And I really, I enjoy playing for him. He's a great coach, no doubt about it.
And what are the facilities like for training camp? I know obviously the NFL has a high benchmark for a lot of good facilities, and obviously you're at Virginia Tech, and you guys had probably top-notch stuff as well. And then Venice High School now, I mean, I've seen some of the stuff they're getting a lot more high profile as well. But what's a training camp facility like for someone who's going in their first or second year of the NFL? Is it kind of awestruck, or you just kind of, what is it like?
They call it the VMAC, the Virginia Mason Athletic Center, and it's really nice. It's right on the water of Lake Washington, and I know some teams travel for training camp, you know, or they go to like a local college in the area, or they get put in dorms and all that. They don't really do that here. I think we're kind of like landlocked out here. There's not that many, you know, facilities in the area, if that makes sense. But the VMAC is incredible, man. You should see. I mean, the indoor practice facility is really, really nice. The weight room's incredible. Weight room's probably my favorite part. And then the practice field itself is great condition. There's 3 big fields. I mean, like I said, it's right on the Lake Washington. So like you'll be in training camp and you'll be in like inside run. It's hot. You're like, oh man, it's good practice. And you'll see people driving by on their yachts on the water. You're just like, man, that looks really nice right now. But can't complain at all. I mean, the facilities are great. The chow hall upstairs is incredible. It's got amazing view of the water. I mean, it's a really, really nice facility.
Now you mentioned the weight room. Is that a place that you pride yourself in? Is that somewhere you obviously is that where you want to make your name at?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a really, really good relationship with the strength staff out here in Seattle, just like I did at Virginia Tech, just because that's where, to be honest, I feel most comfortable, man. Like when I'm in the weight room, I have a big, big passion for lifting weights. Obviously, like I love playing football, and it's kind of been my identity my whole life, being a football player. But I really, really enjoy just those hours that you spend in the weight room, that extra time you put in, after the lift, when you can talk to the strength coaches and say, hey, like, I'm trying to get a little bit more, hamstring work. Let's get on the glute ham machine, or, let's just do some extra curls, or whatever it is, man. I just really, really enjoy building those relationships with the strength coaches, because they're essentially who you spend the most time with. They're the guys that are training you, warming you up, and in the off season, they're the guys that you spend the time with that, are putting you through the off season program. So, I mean, why would you not want to be, a weight room guy, in my opinion, So no doubt about it. The weight room in the VBAC is incredible too. It's really nice.
Now, is the strength portion of your game, is that like the part of your game that you've wanted to take the biggest strides in? What have you been working on this off season leading into camp to kind of set yourself apart and take that next step? Yeah.
Coach Carroll preaches like he wants us to show up for training camp at our lightest, fastest weight, whether that's, for like a guy like me, if it's 280, 275, 285, 290, just finding that weight where you're most comfortable, that you can run, you can play football. At the end of the day, we're not a weightlifting team. So it's not about how much you can bench, squat, or deadlift and all that. Obviously, those things help and they translate to the football field. But I think what helped me out a lot is working with this strength staff and them getting to know me for a year and seeing the areas that I need to improve to help me on the field, whether that's, explosion coming out of your 3-point stance, whether that's, getting like stronger in like your hip flexors, just like all little tweaks and things like that you can work on a personal level, that if you're in a hole, like in college, not, bashing or anything, it's just a fact that you got 100 guys you're training at one time. It can be a little hard to specifically hit one guy's specific needs, on a daily basis. And that's what I was able to do, here this year. And whether it's, I've gotten big into like yoga and just being more fluently stretching and rolling out and getting into those like awkward positions that you get into on a football field as a defensive lineman. You got to take, two guys at a time when you take on double teams, and being able to fight out of that and then go find the ball carrier and just overcoming inertia and coming out of those awkward positions, and I think that's been a huge highlight. And I can't thank the strength staff in Seattle enough, because they've helped me tremendously. And I think I've been in the best shape of my life. And like I said before, I'm just ready to roll.
And staying in the weight room, I would be remiss if I didn't ask. You hear the stories and you hear everything that's said about him, but is DK Metcalf really throwing up the weight that he's throwing up?
That dude is yeah, no, he's ridiculous, man. He's a freak. You'll be lifting it. It's mostly we lift defense and offense, but he's the guy that puts in a lot of extra work. And there'll be times when I'll be in there and it's kind of like an empty weight room, and you'll see him in the end getting work in, and he's like hitting, split squats with a safety bar. He's got like 300, 400 pounds on the bar. And you're just like, what is going on here? But he's just a freak, and it translates on the field. He's just freaking running so fast and just blowing by everybody. He's massive. You know what I'm saying? And he's a prime example of staying in the weight room and putting that work in and showing up on the football field 100%.
And your outlook and perspective right now is obviously you got some snaps on special teams last year, correct? Was that right or no?
During the season, no. I only played in the preseason. I was on practice squad all year.
Practice squad. As special teams, you see a lot of guys. That's kind of how they make their mark. Is that something in terms of what? I mean, obviously you're trying to get in any way you can, but a special team something maybe you try to get a more of a foot up and leg up in.
Absolutely. Little bit of a stigma, especially when you get up to the league, it's like interior D lineman, there's not too much of a role that they can find themselves on special teams. But I mean, I would disagree. I mean, if you really want to, you can put yourself out there, get on kick return, get on punt, not so much kickoff, but you can find ways. I was on look squad, the whole year for multiple special teams, and we have a special teams coordinator that I got a good relationship to, Coach Izzo, and he's a dog too. He was, spent 14 years in the league playing all special teams for the Patriots. And I don't know if he went anywhere else, but he was on some of those Super Bowl teams early on in the 2000s, and he knows what it takes. And, one of the first days of training camp last year, I was like, dude, can I, is there any way I can get on? He said, hell yeah, absolutely. You can play special teams. And so it's another thing I'm looking forward to this year. If it's on punt or KOR, whatever it is, if that's that extra little boost that I need that can set me aside from someone else that I can make this team, or later on in the year, and they can pull me up to make the team. That's what it takes, and that's what I'm going to have to do.
You said you were on practice squad last year. Casual football fan hears that, oh, he's on practice squad, he didn't make the team. He's giving guys looks in practice or whatever. What is it like if you were to break it down to me? A practice squad, you go through the whole season on practice squad. What is that like? What's the day in, day out like?
It's a lot like, especially if it's your first year, it's a lot like redshirting when you get to college. You're giving looks, you're doing extra training in the weight room, you're getting all the film work, you're getting all the coaching aside and all that. And then obviously you're kind of just waiting for your time. It got, knock on wood, God forbid, if someone goes down in the past couple of years, like if someone got tested positive for COVID, like you're the next man up and you can get pulled up in a second, So, I mean, we travel with the team, work out with the team, practice with the team. You do literally everything. It's just like on Sundays, you're on the sideline, and I try to do my best to, encourage guys. If I see something like a younger player that may have gotten pulled up, like Miles Adams did last year, just like telling him things that I see on the field that might be able to help him, because I mean, why would I not? Because I would want, someone else to do the same thing. If I'm on, hopefully in 10 years from now, I'm still playing, and hopefully there's a young practice squad guy that is trying to do the same thing I was doing, encourage, try to get, high energy on the sideline and just, that kind of thing. So realistically, I mean, if you look at it, some guys look at it in a negative way. Some guys try to take it as a positive. And I try to take it as a positive, every day last year. And it's a long season. The NFL is, it's like 18 weeks now, and it dawns on you sometimes. Those thoughts come in your head like, oh man, will I ever get my shot? Is this going to be forever? Man, I don't know if I want to be doing this, but I mean, all that is just negativity. And, the only thing you can do from there is just try harder, work harder, show yourself in practice that you're still trying, you're giving 100%. You're not just letting guys block you. You're not just like being a practice dummy. You're trying to get better still without, trying to be Rudy, if that makes sense. Like, you're just trying to find that balance. But I mean, overall, it's a good experience for me. I don't think anything negative of it. I mean, I'm out here living in Seattle. I get to have teammates like last year, getting to know like Russell and Bobby and Carlos Dunlap and like some of these guys that are just like legends, and no doubt about it. So you just got to take it for what it is. And I think last year, I keep telling them last year was my redshirt year. I'm ready to roll now. I'm ready to play, and I'm going to put it all out there. So just looking forward to it.
And football, obviously, you guys, there's position battles all over the field. And you talked about how the defense is kind of separate from the offense in terms of working out and things like that. But when you have two guys at the QB position right now battling, like Drew Lock and Geno Smith are, Geno has a little bit more experience. Drew's still kind of getting his feet wet in the game. But from a defensive side, looking at your two quarterbacks battling like that, what do you, obviously you're dealing with your own battle, but like in terms of seeing those guys working, what is it like from that side?
Dude, it's awesome because I mean they were both here very first day of voluntary workouts. Some veterans don't come in during those times where it's strictly just workouts and some meetings, and they've been leading the way. Like the two of them have been working really hard, setting the standard, and the energy is just really, really up. Like on the offensive side, having Russ last year, it's like, okay, he's the guy, no doubt about it. Like he's the one like running our team, running the show. And it's like the first team offense goes and, that was it. But now it's like, you don't really know exactly like who's first and who's second. They're, every other day it's either Drew's first or Gino's first. And I just like the leadership that both of them bring. It's just fun to see that competition at the quarterback position that there wasn't last year with having Russ. And, Gino stepping in last year, I thought he did a great job. I think, I'm a big Gino guy. He's a good guy in the locker room. He's always been good to me. You know what I'm saying? He's been in the league a long time now, former first round guy. And he's a cool dude, man. And same with Drew. He's came in and been, very charismatic with everybody, very upbeat, cool guy. So I'm excited to see, how it all shakes out. And it's going to be fun to see because, in this preseason, I'm sure they're both going to be battling for it. So it's going to be a good one to watch for sure.
And then going back to the travel aspect of it, what's been the best travel what's the best stadium, the best experience you've had so far early on in your career? Ooh. What's the best travel experience you've had?
Man, there's a lot. And being in Seattle, like last, we went to Pitt, went to DC, went to Houston, went to Minnesota. Like we were just traveling across the country every other week. So they're big trips. They're 2-day trips because we don't just go the day before because we got to get acclimated to time change and all that. But man, the most unique one was probably Green Bay because like I didn't know what to expect, but it's just like a neighborhood, and then there's just Lambeau Field is just like in the midst of just like a bunch of homes. Like it was really, really cool. It was snowing. It was a cool game, but man, the best stadiums. Minnesota Vikings was pretty cool. It was pretty. They do the skull thing, and it felt like a real college atmosphere with the fans that were really in tune. But ultimately, it was SoFi, like SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. That is a piece of art, man. That stadium is pretty sick. So probably got to give it up to that one. But I mean, I'm Seattle, not too bad either, though. Our fans are nuts, and even when things were going great, like last year, I mean, they stayed true and very, very loud. Coming from Virginia Tech too, another good home atmosphere, man. I couldn't ask for more.
And I was just about to say, I was like, Seattle's not bad either. What is it like playing in front of the 12th man like that? And just, I mean, obviously there's been, in terms of the sound barriers that have been broken seemingly there. What's that like?
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. The 12s they're wild, man. They love football out here. And you got to think, I mean, this is the only pro stadium, pro team in, like a good distance, all like the Midwest, all the way down to California. I mean, San Fran's, it's probably the closest team, but that's, 15-hour drive or so. So a lot of people come from a lot of different places out here, and they get wild, man. Like I've had my brother and some family come out, my fiance at the games. They're like, these people are nuts, man. They like it out here, and they like the football, and they're all about it. And it's cool, man. They specific memory was it last year, the San Francisco game when San Fran came to us later in the year. Carlos Dunlap batted the ball down on 4th and goal to win the game, and it was just so loud. It was like deafening loud that it was wild. I was, it was very, very impressive. Even in our preseason games, there was a lot of people there. So it's been good so far. And our first game versus the Broncos, Russ coming back week 1, Monday night, I believe. I'm sure that's going to be a good one for sure.
And we talked earlier about how Seattle is vastly different than Southwest Florida. What has it been like transitioning to the culture there? Pacific Northwest, obviously, like you said, a lot more rain involved. But in terms of like the atmosphere and the community, obviously there's a lot of seafood eaten down here, but I'm sure there's a lot of different fish eaten type up there. But what has it been like for what's been the transition like? Obviously, the vast differences you can see from the outside, but what's it been? Things you would have known.
I say the people are great. The people are really nice. They're friendly. They're welcoming. Especially if you're at restaurants, if you get noticed or you kind of just, it comes across like, like I'm playing for the Seahawks. They'll treat you well, and they're like, oh my God, like they like love the Seahawks. But I mean, all in all, Seattle is awesome. Like it's a crazy, crazy city. Like if you go downtown, and you go to Pike Place Market right there in the water. It's like you kind of go back to like the 90s and you just hear like the grudge music and like Nirvana and like Pearl Jam is like, just playing. And it's just really, really cool. And like you said, the seafood out here has been really good. Like the salmon, the halibut, the albacore tuna that they got off the coast is really, really good. You go to Pike's Place, like, on a Saturday, or I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they do it and they throw the fish across the, like at Pike's Place, and everybody gathers around. It's really cool. So the culture is great here. There's a lot of good music. I mean, little things like the Space Needle is super, super cool. Like whenever my family comes out there, we always go to it. And not only that, I mean, Mount Rainier, I don't know if it's the tallest, mountain in the U.S. And on a clear day, like when you're driving out to Seattle in the water, it takes up the entire sky. Like it's unbelievable seeing that, being from, Southwest Florida. Like we don't have hills there, bro. Like, what I'm saying? The celery fields out in Sarasota, people are like, oh my God, look at that. And then going to Virginia Tech, like they had the Blue Ridge Mountains along the Appalachian, mountain chain, but it's nothing like out here. The mountain ranges out here are absolutely spectacular just to go look at. I love going out and hiking, finding new hikes out in this offseason has been really fun. It's something, my fiance and I really like to do. So overall, man, I couldn't ask for more. It's been a lot of fun. It's a great atmosphere, and I'm just really looking forward to fall again, man. Ready to go.
Now, is your fiance, is that someone you met here and has gone with you, or is that someone you met in Seattle?
No, we met at Virginia Tech, and I was by myself out here for like the first half of the season. I think right around the bye week, like late October, she was able to move out here, and she works remote. She can work online, so it works out really well. And she works East Coast hours, so like she's up early but off early. So by the time I'm getting done with practice, she's been done for a while. She can hang out for a little bit, and once I get home, so it's nice. It works out really well.
And we'll wrap up here talking about Venice a little bit. I'm on my year of being here now. I got to experience the Venice 8A state title run this past season.
Oh, yeah.
What has it been like seeing Coach Peacock kind of evolve that program and seeing all the stars that are coming out of there? I mean, obviously you can attribute to the guys you played with, but seeing how that program is built up and now it's a powerhouse in the state and getting nationally recognized. What is it like for you being an alumni, seeing that progression?
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's really, really cool to see that coaching staff, they're unbelievable between him, Coach Shannon, Coach Heyer, all those type of guys. I know they got some new guys over the years too, but they've just done an outstanding job. And even when I was there, they got a unique way of, bringing you in. You can have a lot of potential. You can have a lot of people saying like, oh, I think you could be the next big thing. You could be this and that. They have a great way of bringing you back down to earth and letting you understand that like, all that is just potential, and all that is just hype. Like if you don't put the work in and day out and prove that you can do it every single day, you're not going to be able to do it at the college level and make it to the NFL eventually. And they just really, really know how to get the best out of guys, if that makes sense, because they understand work for sure. I mean, I think our summer program at Venice High School is similar to not maybe even harder than some college programs, to be honest. And they demand it out of you every single day. They demand, your absolute best. They demand absolutely 100% accountability. And just going back to seeing their success is it's incredible. The 2 state championships in the last, since 2017, right? Just a few years. So it's been really cool to see. And just the teammates I've had, guys like Tyler Gauthier, Alex Hogue, guys that I play with, Bryce Carpenter, Javon Hiley, all those type of guys just going on and doing their thing at, at their universities and going up to the next level is incredible. And now guys, leading the way like Damon Wilson. I remember Damon Wilson running around as a little kid when I was in high school because his dad was a, coach. He was always affiliated with the high school. And everybody's like, man, that kid, he's going to be something by the time he gets there. And my goodness, he's top, whatever he is in the country, like a top 5 player in the country. It's absolutely incredible. And I stay in contact with him. It's really, really cool to see him, blossom and become to, be the man that he is now. And he still has a long road ahead. He's got to finish his senior year, but I mean, obviously his talent and his work ethic has put him in a position to be one of the best players in the country and on one of the best teams in the country. So I couldn't be more proud of guys like him. Couldn't be just more proud of an alumni to see the success that, Coach Peacock has. And it's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's talk about DK Metcalf as being a freak athlete. This kid at his age he's going to be a monster. But how often are you getting to come back home and talk to guys like that and visit the school and go back and see the coaches? How often are you getting to come back?
In college, I would make sure I'd come back, check out the workouts, check out spring ball. as much as I could. And really this past year, truthfully, man, I only made it home really like once in January. And I wish I could have made it back home a little bit, but just living in Seattle and trying to, put myself in the best position. I just didn't want to be going home, flying across the country all that much. But going forward, I definitely am looking to do it more now. But last year, right before I was heading out for training camp and during their spring ball and summer workouts, I was able to catch a lot of their spring practices, Venice. And not much changed, man. That work is still there. They're still, pushing their kids really hard, and they're still demanding, a lot. And it was really, really cool to be part of some of those practices and see, like, Damon really, just started to become that powerful, that really just like stand-up defensive end that he is now. So, I mean, it's been fun. I look forward to, seeing more and seeing their success they have this year. But, definitely trying to be getting home more like this next off season for sure.